Hello everyone and welcome to Formula Racing League TV live here on YouTube. Thank you very much for joining me. Good evening, good afternoon or good morning wherever you are watching from in the world, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, guys and gals and non-binary pals. My name is Gogs, the Captain Brown. Thank you once again. I appreciate you coming to join us this last time out for this season. Tonight, of course, is the finale, the final round, the last chapter for the Super Sprint Sunday Season 12. It has been an amazing season in all championships. We have been to Kyalami, we've been to Spa, we've been to Indianapolis, we've been to Bathurst. We've been to the home of Grand Prix racing in the United Kingdom at Silverstone. Last time out we were at Valencia, which seen a chaotic race, and we finish off this epic world tour at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, much more commonly known as Imola. And what a track to see this season out. Whilst we wait for the climatic finale to our season, let's recap what has happened so far. In the AM Class Championship, we have seen multiple winners and podium finishers this season. Expect to see some of these drivers battling in Silver Class for Season 13. Yes, there will definitely be a Season 13. We are coming back for some more Super Sprint Sunday. Joshua Evandro has only finished off the podium twice this season and leads the way with a 57-point gap to Julian Van Welk. Cablo's having a fine season as well, a further 20 points behind, and still mathematically all three of these drivers are in with a chance. However, it is the battle for P3 that we are looking to see settled this evening. Silver Class has been wrapped up this season, last time out in Valencia, by the FRL champion of Silver Class, Dan Naisbitt, who has shown phenomenal consistency all season long, and a well-deserved trophy next to his name up on Discord. Commiserations to Gareth Harvey in the number 4 Ferrari this evening. That's him there. He's currently in P2 in the championship. He's in the pits just now. Currently he's P2. He got 313 points. Stu Rogers is 16 behind him in third. Dazza Townsend on 292 points, a further 5 points back. Harry Palmer on 291, so only a point behind. Michael Mulnix and Luke, where is he? We've got him here somewhere. Autocorrect is done me wrong. Luke Richings, there he is. Just behind him as well on 274, both of them tied. All of them mathematically possible to finish second this evening. In the Pro Tier, it looks like Morgan has wrapped things up. He's all but done it. Only Mackinnon's robotic-like consistency has kept him in the hunt mathematically. I think, if my calculations are correct, Morgan needs one P9 finish and a DNF to settle the championship, but anything can happen in Formula Racing League. It usually does, so we'll see what happens there. So Mackinnon, like we said, is behind on 358 points, and Dan Clegg, who has a qualifying ban this evening after a collision last time out, he'll start on 319 points, and it would take a big swing to change either of those first and second positions. Fourth place is a lot closer. The King of the Mountain, I've got down as Jay Wazzer there, currently still in the pits, running P3 just now. He is in fourth place, only 17 points behind Clegg in his big old Bentley. Tom Hacker lies on 270 points. I'm unsure if he's going to be racing this evening, however. Hopefully he does manage to make it. He was taking part in a massive endurance race just yesterday. Just behind him, 32, is Mahulka, 11 behind on tackle on 259. So Mahulka's got a chance to move up the order in the pro standings as well this evening. There are battles, of course, to fight for all through the field this evening, and every racer likes a fight on track anyway. And I've yet to call a very boring race with Formula Racing League, so we are in for a brilliant time this evening. This is Formula Racing League, sim racing at its very best. Now we are on the finale. It's very unlikely that you're unfamiliar with the format, but let me just run through it this evening because we have a mega grid this evening. We have all three classes participating this evening. That's Pro, Silver and the AM class drivers all on the same track at the same time. They will only be scored championship points based upon their class finishing order. You can tell on the left hand side, anyone with a white background next to their name, such as A. Morgan or J. Wazzer, is a pro driver. J. Garrett and H. Palmer with the silver backgrounds are silver drivers, funnily enough, and Welk, Van der Wal and Evandro with the red backgrounds are in the AM class category. On the right hand side of your screen, the top right shows you the schedule for this evening. We have a 30-minute qualifying session, a big one indeed it is. The reason for that is the first 10 minutes will be for exclusive use of the track for the AM class drivers, the middle 10 minutes for the silver class drivers, and lastly but certainly not least, the final 10 minutes should be to decide the sharp end of the grid with the pro class drivers.
Green light, go, go, go.
We'll then have a 20-minute sprint race from the lights to flag, no mandatory pit stops. And then we also have, after that, a 40-minute race. 40-minute race with, again, sprint race, no mandatory stops. It says here the race is at 5 PM. I was under the impression it was supposed to be an evening race, 10 o'clock PM in game time. However, it looks like that has been changed and it will be a daylight race. So that's qualifying now underway. We've got some cars out on track, some of the AM class drivers. First one out there is Hodges in his BMW, the 44 car. There he is. He's in the navy, gold and white multi-bank group BMW. We'll come back and check on him. Of course, as we need to make sure we are aware of all the drivers at this evening. We've got Peckman in the 31 McLaren just behind them on track as well. The 230 car is the next one down the road. Not seeing the 230 car. I could be mistaken, of course. Could get the numbers all wrong. It's 220, that's why I can't find them. 220 is Evandro. We expect Evandro to be up the sharp end of the AM class this evening. Very striking looking livery, navy and yellow, very nice. Car number 16, let's try and get acquainted with these guys. Akarov in the gold and burgundy Ferrari. Car 44 shown as spun up ahead. These drivers need to be careful as car 44 attempts to rejoin. As Hodges facing the wrong way, he's had a lot of spin and smashed his rear wing into the wall, so Hodges will not be giving us our guide this evening. Damien Roos in the 24 Ferrari, seen them on track a couple of times in other series. Very common driver, a very good driver on his day. Spralston just leaving the pit lane. Netessa, we've not seen them before. An NSX, not seen a Honda NSX in a long time. All the car drivers now jostling for position. And they're going to maybe get a queue here. It looks like we're going to get a queue anyway, that's for certain. Van der Adel in the McLaren as well, also being hampered by all of this action. A little bit of argy-bargy. Van der Wal as well, looking to get himself some time. So what we'll do is we'll jump on board actually with Van der Wal. and get a lap guide off this Imola track. So we're on the long, stupidly long start-finish, not a straight. Need to find your braking point around about the orange marker on the right, slam the brakes on, get it turned in, do not take too much off these sausage curves on the inside. Then it's the foot on the floor. Now he's got some traffic, this might hinder his lap up ahead. These two drivers will need to get out of his way. Into the Villeneuve chicane, very tricky under braking, but Van der Waal does a good job. Now into the hairpin down at the bottom of the hill at Toza. You want to take a late apex here and get that right foot planted on the throttle as early as possible. The back end steps out for Van der Waal and the traction control kicks in. Fast left-hander at the very top of the circuit, tricky one to get right, and he could not buy an apex if he had for love nor money there. This is now the trickiest corner on the track in my opinion. Turning while braking gets the car slowed down very nicely from Van der Waal. Made that look so easy. Now he's up to Variante Bassa, I think this is called, and needs to pinpoint his braking just as the curb starts. Takes a lot of that first curve. The second one is very high, and look at the rear end. Steps out as he smashes into that sausage curve. Now he comes down the straight under the silly banner. Pinpoints his braking for Ravazza, and the Ferrari up ahead is almost in the way. He needs to be very careful. He needs to move out of the way off the fast car coming through. Van der Waal prioritises his exit, and now up through the gears of this not start-finish straight, and he comes across the line now, and that is a lap off this Imola circuit. So let's have a look at the current times being set. Evandro with a 1:42.5, Hellmans with a only 0.3 of a second behind. Chamakovs came through there in the BMW and takes third just now. Akarov is in fourth. Van der Waal puts himself in fifth of that lap. Q Robert in the 510 McLaren is currently sixth. Van der Adel is seventh. So 2 for 4. This is Harris comes across the line. Can Harris put a time on the board? Yes, he can. He moves himself up into P5. Matthew Sproston in the red Porsche is going to be the next across the line to set a valid lap time. In chat, Dan Naisbitt joining us, FRL admin in the chat there. Didn't realise Rolf had escaped jail. I assume you are referring to Harris. Oh my goodness me. So, we're watching Sproston now up through the gears. What can he do on this lap? Peckman's behind on a set of lap as well. There's Peckman coming through. And they've both got times on the board. That's good to see. Hopefully everyone does manage to get a time on the board. Daza in chat. Daza T saying mega good. Mega trouble. Hopefully not. Hopefully everyone can keep themselves out of trouble this evening and not cause any accidents. Of course, that will be, we'll hopefully get to see that as we see that Honda NSX obviously being a bit of a handful. I've not seen one of them in Assetto Corsa Competizione in absolutely ages. I'm so glad the AMs are with us tonight so we can witness this, because this is rare. And we'll get to see as well, of course, the low fuel motorsport, the LFM BOP in effect this evening. That is, of course, extra weight being added or removed from each car to try and balance out the performance of these cars to make it more even. And of course, the result of that is we get to see some exotic cars such as the Honda NSX. Although it looks like half of the AM class field has picked a McLaren for this race, as Rolf Harris, as Dan Naisbitt like to say, has just taken to the off the track. Now we've got two cars here on a hot lap. We need to be very careful here. This Ferrari is looking very spicy on the back of the BMW. Of course, no overtaking allowed in the Formula Racing League. Car 24 will need to be careful. That is Ruse as he's on the back of that car of Hodges. He needs to be careful. Sproston's in the pits, and we've only 2 minutes 12 seconds remaining. Cablo also in the pits. I think Cablo may be on a qualifying ban as well. That NSX is just leaving the pits now. Hodges needs to get himself a lap time on the board. He's currently on a valid lap time. That Ferrari probably should have backed off a little bit and given themselves the space they need to complete a clean lap. That might come back to hinder them as Hodges crosses the line and gets on the board, thankfully for him. The silver class drivers just lining up at the end of the pit lane, already queuing up. They've got 1 minute and 35 seconds left until their session starts. Rusna needs to get himself on the board. As does Welk. Welk has won many races this season in the AM class, and he's yet to set a time on the board, so he'll need to get himself moving. On board with the BMW driver, coming through the final corner, absolutely smashes the apex and is on the throttle very, very early. He's up through the gears now. What can he do? He's currently in 23rd overall, yet to set a time. He moves up to P3 and he's got 52 seconds remaining. Now this is the interesting one. Car 5, 10 and car 16, that's Robert and Akharov, next to each other on the track, next to each other on the leaderboards as well, are coming round the second to last corner. I think it's Ravazza. I could be wrong with the corner names. I will check that at the end of the qualifying session, but it's Ravazza just now. Robert's coming through and is going to get a lap time in. Akharov dives into the pits. Car 717 has set a lap time. Who's not set a time? Sproston. Sproston's in the pits, so Sproston will not set a lap time this evening. A slow moving car that shows at the back of the grid there, and Hodges pulls into the pits. They're not going to get a chance to start their lap time, so we've got 2 cars left on track. That is Welk, who started his lap, and then we've got the 510 car of Robert. So these are the 2 drivers left who can dethrone Evandro in the 220 McLaren, who set a 141.8. That is not a slow time. That time I think he may actually end up in amongst the silver class drivers, a supposedly faster class of driver. Well, that remains to be seen. We can see on the track map on the bottom right of your screen the mass exodus of silver class drivers from the pit lane. With car number 24 leading them out, but it's Welk now coming up across the line. Can he improve from P3? He can improve, and he's only 0.15 seconds off taking pole position. He's up now into P2. It's a good lap. It wasn't enough, I'm afraid, for the BMW driver. One more car still to go, and that is Robert in the 510. Round the final corner now. He doesn't use the whole of the track, but it looks in control, and sometimes when it looks slow, it's actually much, much faster. He's now coming up across the line. Can he improve from 8th? He doesn't improve, unfortunately, and that is the end of the AM class qualifying. So, car 24, that's Rouge, is in the wall. The first car coming around is going to be the 79 car. That's Chris Gedman. Gedman gets himself a second bite at the cherry of being included in our lap guide. But this time we're doing it from the Helicam. So Chris Gedman, take us away into turn 1, 2 and 3. Tamburello doesn't matter. Next, let's pick car. Let's do it. Let's go on board with our current champion, Dan Naisbitt, in the Sky Ferrari. About to say Sky McLaren there, but we'll just ignore that one. So he comes up into turn 1. This is Tamburello. 1, 2 and 3 I think it is. Cuts a lot of those sausage curbs. He is on the limit already. He's got the championship wrapped up, but he is not going to just lie down and let the others take this race from him. Into the Villeneuve chicane now. The back end looks absolutely glued. This of course being the old Ferrari, the Ferrari 488. Let's remember that as well, and that I think is attest to how good a job he has done this season. He's now going up the hill towards the fast left-hander. Can he nail the apex? He does, he clips the inside, but he's ran wide. That's going to cost him a track limits, and that's going to be this lap now invalidated as well. So let's put all the pressure of the FRL admin team onto Stu Rogers, who's now coming up through Toza. Let's see if he can complete a valid lap time. No such issues over the fast corner now into... I need to look at the names of this corner, but this is the tricky one we spoke about earlier on. Doesn't take the sausage curbs on the inside. They can pivot the car around oh so easily. Now we've got the tight chicane, the 90 degree right and 90 degree left. Smashes that inside curb, but did he take too much off that curb? Let's just quickly double check. No, he didn't. The lap time is still valid. I've lost him now. Should never have done that. There he is. He comes down now into the second to last corner, nails the apex spot on, and for the second part of it as well. He's now up through the gears, and there's nothing more for him to do other than keep the car from going off the track. Across the grid slots now, up through the gears. What time does he do? Stu Rogers goes into 9th overall and completes a lap for us in the Helicam, something no other FR admin could do. So who's yet to set a time? We've got Dan Naisbitt, Garrett. Garrett's yet to set a time as well in the 15, and he's still going to yet to be able to set a time as he's just went and validated that lap. Samuel Grafe in the Audi, one of the few Audi runners this season. Look in the background that somebody got a little bit out of shape, but they actually made the corner absolutely fine. Coming down into the second to last corner. The Audi is so stiffly sprung, you can see the front end bouncing over the bumps and curbs on this historic Imola circuit. Takes as much of that green AstroTurf paint as he can get away with, and now across the line is Grafe and goes a respectable P9. That's a decent lap time. Dan Naisbitt's now about to come across the line. What can he do? And he goes into 3rd overall. Only a 10th off pole. He's going to dive back into the pits for some freshies, I think. Rick Brave in the red Ferrari, that classic crimson red, currently 7th, a second off the pace. Now this is interesting, we've got an AM class driver sitting at the front of every single silver driver. Gareth Harvey comes across the line and can only manage P8. Now D Johns in the 112 Porsche is about to come across the line now. Don't think they jumped up either. Than Paul Trotman in the yellow and black Lamborghini. What can he do? Only up to P14, not enough for Trotman. Garrett on the ragged edge. Look at him flying round there. He went too wide. Has he lost it? Has Garrett lost that track? He has. That lap spent invalid, so he's now going to have to go round one more time. Oh dear. So coming round, we've got 3 minutes of qualifying for the silver class remaining. Gedman's about to come across the line and start a lap, but it's just behind Gedman. Luke Richings. They're coming up through the field. Does he cross the line? Does it improve? Doesn't. Michael Mulnick, so a mixed season for the American, moves up into P5. That's a good lap. A good lap. Dazza Townsend in the Pink Panther. Of course, the last time maybe we'll see the Pink Panther, that remains to be seen. What can Townsend do? He does improve. Takes quite a chunk off his time actually, but it's only worth one position. That's got to be a little bit frustrating for the Welshman. Harvey now comes across the line, improves up to P5. He's only 4/10 off the pace. Stu Rogers now goes battling for that second place. not quite on the same pace at this time. Serpentine's in the pits just now. Grafe still lapping round. Trotman coming across the line. Is Trotman able to improve? He does, and Trotman goes up one position. Yellow flags out at turn 3 for Harvey, who's spun. There he is there. So that's turn 4. That's the Villeneuve chicane. He nearly has an incident with Dan Naisbitt on the rejoin. Don't think there's too much either driver could have done about that one, unfortunately. Just a case of wrong place, wrong time. 1 minute and 27 seconds remain for the silver class drivers to finish their qualifying. And I think we're going to see car, I think it's 244. It is indeed. Why is car 244 still on track? That is the question. Harris should not be on the track. And he's caused an issue for the car in front there. That's 207. That's Palmer. Palmer's went on to P2 and then ended up back in the pit lane. So Garrett's just taken pole. Garrett's just went provisionally on pole position with 45 seconds left. Now all the cars coming across the line now will be on their last qualifying lap. So that's Townsend coming across the line now. Rick Brave is going to come across the line. Dan Naisbitt in the 242 is going to come across the line. Harvey Johns is going to get one more lap, and then behind them it's Stu Rogers. No, it's not. It's 215. That's Serpentine's going to get a lap, and he's going to be the last one across the line. 244. Still on track, should not be getting a lap in. So Serpentine comes across the line to start his final qualifying lap. Luke Richings is going to be the first man across the line. So let's see what he can do with Grafe as well, just in behind him, just now in the Audi. I just wanted to take this quick moment to say thank you to all the drivers for having very distinguishable liveries this season. It's been made my job a lot easier trying to remember who everyone is, so thank you very much for that. Richings now through the last corner, as is Grafe. Both look to have the lap time of the car hooked up on exit. Richings now across the line. Doesn't improve. Grafe comes across the line next. Does improve up into P11. Naisbitt's went invalid at Variante Bassa, unfortunately. So the car 34 and 242 will not be able to improve on their lap time. So Garrett right now is sitting in the pole spot. Harvey's going to be the next person across the line to set a valid lap time, as the pro drivers have now exited the pit lane and are now flying on the track. Can Harvey find time? Can he find the time he needs to secure second in the championship? So far, he doesn't improve. So that is the end of silver qualifying. And now it's time for the pro class to come round and set their lap time. So first round on the track is the champion almost in waiting, Alex Morgan, and then we've got Juho Mäkinen behind them as well. So first and second in the championship are going to be first and second on the track. And also does seem to be that Dan Clegg is not in the server. Dan Clegg's not in the server this evening, so third place potentially up for grabs in the pro category. So that's something we'll keep an eye on there. We'll look back and see exactly what we've got to, what can happen, what the permutations are in the championship for that one. As Morgan hop, skip and a jump over that chicane. And now flies up the hill onto the fast left-hander. And he's absolutely perfectly within the track limits. To Variante Alta. Now he's got the back end, a four-wheel drift on the way in. Now that looked extremely quick from the number 5 McLaren. I'm fully expecting this time to go up pretty high on the board. He takes a lot of that curb on the second part of Variante Bassa. Of course, Mäkinen behind, keeping tabs on him as well, so this is going to be pretty close between the two of them. Morgan's pace in qualifying has been absolutely exquisite so far this season. He comes round the final corner now. You can see the front wheels chopping, his hands chopping at the steering wheel, trying to keep the back end in check. He's really keeping it over to the right to minimise his run to the line. And that's pretty much exactly where I expected that time to go from Morgan. So Mihuka's now coming across the line. We'll keep an eye on his time because this is a very important race for him, with Clegg not being in the server this evening. As Mihuka now comes across the line, he puts himself 15th overall. And look at this, 44 drivers in the server this evening. This truly is a mega grid. So who's next? Jay Wazzer, the king of the mountain, the man in the big old Bentley. The big old engine, turbocharged of course, coming down the straight. And where does he put that Bentley? Up into P4. What a lap time from the king of the mountain. Clayton now comes across the line. What can Clayton do? Clayton goes into P16. Yellow flags out for car 666. That's Derek McCann. He's back now in the pit lane. Zilli Autos went round there reasonably quickly as well. So, excuse me, let's just see what of a rundown here. So we've got Morgan, Mäkinen and Wazzer. 1, 2 and 3 in pro, with Clayton and Mihoka just tagging along behind. Morgan Grace just leaving the pit lane there. Walsh in the McDonald's liveried Audi. I am loving it. Flies round the second to last corner, uses every inch of that exit curb on both occasions. We're on board now as he goes up through the gears. Crosses the line, does Walsh. Moves up into P13. The yellow flags out up ahead. That's for car number 7. These went back to the pit lane just in time, thankfully. De Vita, Dario De Vita, not Danny DeVito. I've had that one corrected before. Coming out of the Villeneuve chicane into Tosa now. Very recognisable Ferrari, red, white and green, just like the curbs on the side of the track, just like the Italian national flag. The prancing horse prances over the top of the curb on the top of the circuit. Now into Variante Alta now he comes. Looks very stable, doesn't it, that Ferrari? The suspension working overtime, keeping the car glued to the track. 3 minutes and 30 seconds off this qualifying, the final qualifying session of the Super Sprint Sunday season here on Assetto Corsa Competizione on PlayStation 5. As we've got car 43 gets out of the way for the flying De Vita into the second to last corner now. And again, you just see that suspension on that Ferrari working overtime, bouncing up and down. He's got 6.5, 4, no, ignore that, 3 minutes left. Flies across the line now. And across the line it does improve. Now here comes Mihuka as well. Across the line improves up into P9. So a good lap from the Lamborghini driver. Jack Prentice, the other big old Bentley, the mint green baby Bentley, with a striking pink accent, doesn't manage to improve on this lap at least. A couple of drivers there still to make a lap time is Morgan Grace in the 14 Ferrari, and Luke Prentice in the pits, I think maybe serving some kind of a qualifying ban with 2 minutes and 10 seconds left. I would expect them to be on the track. I have obviously received a message earlier on today informing me of who is on what kind of ban, so that is my fault for not remembering. Dan Clegg, Clayton, Charlie Smith and Cablo were on a ban, with Dylan Volten on a race ban as well. So, quick look at the top. Morgan with 1 minute 38 seconds, 37, 36. Even he can't get round in this time. This will be the last lap for Morgan and Mackinnon. Where was Mackinnon? He's a little bit further round the track. So he might get 2 laps in here, so that could be key. We'll keep an eye on that one. McCann in that chrome green Lamborghini moves up into P24. So he's going to get another lap in as well. This is where it gets tricky to spot all of the drivers as Grace starts a lap time. Morgan's off track, Morgan's back in the pit lane, so Morgan will not start any higher than first is what I was about to say, but he won't be able to improve his time. So 54 seconds remaining, car 6, 7, 8, that is Prentice about to come and cross the line. Let's start his final lap, there we go. Jay Wazzer is done for this evening in qualifying. He will not start any higher than P3. A couple of cars coming through now. That's Mackinnon to start their final lap. Car 884 is going to come through. That's Eden, and car 500. That's Clayton. Can't find them on track, but I know 500 is Josh Clayton. 16 seconds remaining. Is Mihuka going to be the last man across the line? I think he is. 7, 6, 5, 4, and across the line he goes. So he will start. He will be the final man to cross this line. The checkered flag is now out. That is the end of qualifying. Everyone will now get to finish their lap time. Car 14, that is Morgan Grace, going to be first across the line. Here is the Ferrari driver. He's all the way to the right hand side, as much of that green paint on his tyres as he can get. And he crosses the line now. What can he do? He's up there. P13. Walsh now comes across the line in the McDonald's car. Goes to P5. That's a good lap from Walsh. Ziliotto looks to be very snaky on the exit. Did he keep that one within bounds? I think he did. He is continuing on. The number 6 Ferrari now comes across the line. Doesn't manage to improve, unfortunately. Car 7 is not on a valid lap time. The car behind is car 884. That is Eden. And he's got Clayton just tucked in behind. What can Clayton do? Eden comes across the line. Up into P13. Clayton crosses the line. P6 not able to improve. So that is the end of the final qualifying session for Super Sprint Sunday. Let's have a quick look at the order. AM class sees Evandro, Welk, Chumakovs, Helmans, Van der Waal, Hallis, Akarov, Robert, Van den Adel, Netessa, Peckman, Hodges, Roos, Sproston, Smith and Cablo. That is the order for the start of the AM class. The silver drivers went Garrett, Naisbitt, Johns, Palmer, Harvey, Malnix, Dembrave, Rogers, Grafe, Cuters, Serpentine, Trotman, Richings, Townsend and Gedman. So the overall grid looks as follows. Cablo and Smith, Sproston, Prentice and Roos outside the top 40. That's something we've never said before on PlayStation 5 here at FRL. Over 40 cars in this race. Hodges, Peckman, Neteza, Van der Adel, Robert, Gedman, Townsend, Richings, Akarov, Harris finish up the positions from 39th to 30th. Trotman, Serpentine, Cuters, McCann, Van der Waal, Ziliotto, De Vita, Heymans, Grafe, Chumakovs, Rod is the top 20. Takes us to the top 20. Then we have Stu Rogers, Rick Den Brave, Michael Mulnix, Gareth Harvey, Morgan Grace, Juan Welk, Eden Prentice, Palmer takes us up to the top 10. So anyone here who's not in the pro class has done an incredible job to get into this position. Mayo Club are starting P10 with John's 9th. Evandro in AM class takes the AM class pole in 8th on the track. Dan Naisbitt 7th on the track. Clayton, Walsh, Garrett, Jay Wazzer, Juho Makinen, and on pole position once again Alex Morgan continues the Max Verstappen impression tour. And that's the end of qualifying. Now let me just have a quick check here because I think my microphone might be slightly too loud. I'm getting a bit of an echo. I hope you guys aren't either. I'm going to try and fix that. Just bear with me. Test, 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 testy, test. Testy McTest face. Okay. So, that's the end of qualifying. What very interesting race up ahead with so many cars on the track. Quick reminder, look, we've got a car left there, a car not taking the grid. What's happened there? Walsh, Clayton, Evandro, that is Dan Naisbitt. Showing at the back of the grid. Dan Naisbitt and Chris German have been disconnected and had to rejoin from the back of the grid. So that'll be interesting watching the silver class champion fight their way through the grid. Quick screenshot of that there. That's a great shot. We'll take a screenshot of that one. Right, so let's have. If this is something you've enjoyed watching this season, I've enjoyed watching it. I've enjoyed bringing you the action. But if it's something you maybe want to take part in next season, let me tell you how you can do so. All you need is a PlayStation 5, a copy of Assetto Corsa Competizione, which I believe is currently one of the games available to download with PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. So I think I could be mistaken with that one, but if you've got PS Plus Premium or Extra, Assetto Corsa Competizione is one of the games available. You'll need the downloadable content required. Okay. There is frequently sales on the PlayStation Store, so have a look. It is free and easy for you to sign up. All you have to do is go on to www.thesimgrid.com and from there search for Formula Racing League. All the details are there and all information how to join the Discord server. All communication is organised through Discord. So have a look there on SimGrid and you can see how to join there. 30 seconds left before Morgan gets us underway for the second last race of this season. Of course, this is the finale here at Imola. We've got a double header, but that doesn't mean there'll be no racing until season 13 starts. Whilst the admin team are finalising all these juicy details, why not have a look and sign up for our off-season Sunday events? We have Over the Limit, which will be an 80-minute test of strategy, or Perfectly Balanced, which will be a race to test our GT4 balance of power. So we have an 80-minute race of GT4s around the Nürburgring. Sign-ups are available now, available on SimGrid, on SimGrid, after our patrons got first refusal. So have a look on SimGrid for those events in the off-season as well. So as Morgan now gets us underway for the start of race 1. Let's have a look here. What is going on? Car 244 is showing in the pit lane. Who is that? That is Harris. So yes, Harris having to take the pit lane start after being out on track. And look at the driver tracker on the bottom right of the screen. The sheer amount of cars that we have on the track this evening. I mean, Chris Gedman's still coming round turn 1 as Morgan's going round Toza. So the field spread. That is, of course, as the race goes on, the gap between each car gets bigger and bigger. Tom Cairns joining the chat to watch, saying best of luck to all the drivers. I'm sure they'll all appreciate that, Tom. Tom, of course, one of the FRL broadcasters who broadcast Taco Tuesday on a Tuesday evening under most circumstances. He won't be back for the rest of the season, but should be returning for season 13 to broadcast the Pro Tier Championship. Very good at commentary, a lot better than my amateur self. So nice to have you with us, Tom. Hope you enjoy the action this evening. As you can see, we have over 40 cars. This truly is a mega grid here at Imola. Formula Racing League's first ever grid on PlayStation 5, over 40 drivers. Will be interesting to see how not only these cars deal with it, but also the hardware, the server, of course. Hopefully that manages okay. Dan Naisbitt's pulled over at the back of the grid. What's happened to Dan Naisbitt? He's parked. He's got moving now, but that looks like it's going to end up being a pit lane start for the Sky Ferrari. And for some reason, I'm now driving. Oh dear, what is going on here? Right, okay, we're going to have to deal with this just now. We've got Morgan and Macklin at the front. Like we said, amateur self. We've got Wazzer and Garrett, 3rd and 4th. And row 3 is Walsh and Clayton as they come round the final corner now. I'll be able to get the helicam up. There we go. So we can see the start at the best possible view. Now when this goes green, 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 I'm going to very, very, very quickly change back to the previous interface. I should only lose about a second, but please bear with me. As the adrenaline builds, we cross the line, but we await the green flag. And we are green, green, green. We are underway for the season finale here at Formula Racing League. Garrett's gotten ahead of Water at the start, and Mackinnon's jumped Morgan, so Mackinnon's out in front. The last time this happened, and Mackinnon won the race. We're going to see, make sure everyone gets through the first couple of corners safely. It looks like they have. There's a big collision at the back there. We'll try and jump on and work out what has happened there, but up at front, Mackinnon. Driver tracker's doing its usual thing. It'll take a little while to update itself, but it looks like Mackinnon stayed out in front. The 100 car is shown as a yellow flag at the Villeneuve chicane, as is car number 35 now as well. That's Van der Adel, who's been off track. So look at, this is the leaders now as they come up the hill. Morgan's all over the back of Mackinnon in the Porsche. But they've got round in the same order as they got round at turn 1. Mackinnon leads the way. The driver tracker says second. Ignore that one just now. Car 244 and car 100 are in the pits. But that is the first couple of corners so far. We've got action a little bit further back as Wazzer thinks about a move on Welk. Grace is tucked in behind Prentice as they come in to the chicane now. 2 cars side by side. That's Clayton, I think. So it's Harvey down the inside of the BMW. Good overtake there. Everyone gets through relatively okay. Cars almost stopping on the apex to get around okay. It's a very heavily damaged number 24 Ferrari. Mackinnon still leads, and they're already going across the start-finish straight. cones all over the track. This is of course from the accident at the start of the race. We'll need to try and catch what's happened with that one. But Mäkinen leads the way into turn 1. 2 cars battling. This is Mihuka, looks to go up the inside of Eden, round into Tamburello chicane. He takes the outside for turn 2. He's made it through. And Eden's now going to be under pressure from the big old Bentley behind him. That's Prentice, who tucks in, doesn't do anything about it this time. Morgan is still showing behind Mäkinen, and Garrett's tagging along with these guys reasonably well. He's not been left for dust. Evandro as well holding his own in the P7, the AM class driver. Mäkinen completely misses the apex coming over the hill, over that crest. Very easy to do, of course, but it looks like he's got it under control now. Mäkinen driving that car to the ragged edge, but he's got 17 minutes plus a lap if he wants to hold on to that provisional lead. Morgan takes a lot of that inside curb. Mäkinen takes a lot off the exit curb. As they all come round the chicane now, I think everyone's going to get through relatively okay. That Ferrari's went very wide. That's De Vita. He's going to be under pressure now from Harvey. No, he's not. He's kept his speed up, thankfully, so he's not under any severe pressure just yet. Everyone else seems to be driving line astern just now. No major movements, major actions going on. But up at the front, Morgan still tucked in behind. Wazzer still behind Garrett. Imola, of course, one of the harder tracks to make moves on. That looked like a Ferrari on the grass on the way into turn 1. It doesn't look like to be any drama, thankfully, at least not at this juncture. But that Ferrari's went wide there. That's Prentice. They moved open up, and Prentice takes advantage of the mistake from Victor Brave and moves up into 4th in class. Opportunistic move by the Bentley driver, who's now got Morgan Grace tucked in behind. Close battling a little further back. Welks ended up quite far down the order. Dan Naismith's next to come up and try and overtake him. So on board with the silver class champion. The back of that BMW looks smashed to bits. Hopefully it doesn't cause him too much issues. And they're so close to touching as they come round the top of the hill. Dan Naismith pulls out of that one. Discretion possibly. Oh, there's slight contact between the two of them. He comes back on track. Nearly hits the back of the Ferrari. That one might end up in a steward's inquiry later on this evening. Morgan is now all over the rear wing of that Porsche. We're on board with Mäkinen looking back the way. Look at the straight line speed of the McLaren. Mäkinen's going to have to go defensive if he wants to keep this position. Down into turn 1 now. He's taking the inside line. The track turns slightly before turn 1, and that can cause a lot of incidents. But Mäkinen is able to keep the position, but can he continue to do so into the Villeneuve chicane? Morgan's darting left, right, all over the back of that wing. He's not able to do it. Not on this occasion, but these two are going to give us one hell of a race again, it looks like. As Morgan sticks his nose down the inside of Toza, Mäkinen leaves him the room, just showing his nose. So Mäkinen knows any mistake, Morgan's going to pounce all over it. Just behind these two, of course, these two battling allows Garrett and Wazzer to keep battling hard. Garrett, of course, in the silver class, mixing it with these two at the front, keeping those two on their heels as well. But the silver class currently leads Garrett, Johns and Palmer. I think that's good for Palmer's championship. As Harvey's all the way down there, but look at this, there's a slipstream up here as well. Morgan getting the effect of less wind resistance. Mäkinen goes defensive and leaves exactly a McLaren's width plus a millimetre space on the racing line. Very tough but fair And here we go again, the slipstream effect for these two. They aren't as close as last time, but that's not going to deter Morgan. Look at the closing speed there. He's going to have to take to the outside again. And this time he's brake even later. He's across lines and entitled to space, and there's contact between the two leaders. So Morgan goes through now, and Garrett as well. Does Garrett dare take a shot at the McLaren? I don't think he will do it this time. Mäkinen, of course, now under pressure. He's alongside Clayton. We've definitely not seen the last of this, as Evandro now battling with the currently second placed driver in the Pro class. Am mixing with Pro. A little bit further back, we'll see we've got action all through the field here this evening, and we expect to see a lot of this. Serpentine's just got past, I think, Luke Prentice. Dazza Townsend in the chat there saying he's not enjoying this evening. He is done. He has left the server. We missed what happened there. And his contact at the back, that's a huge crash at Toza, car 79, that's Chris Gedman's facing the wrong way. We've got another Porsche there at the back, that's Sproston who's ported it back to the pit lane. So Gedman's been caught up in a tussle there, coming through Toza, the Toza tussle. We've got Prentice parked on the top of the hill, maybe it was Prentice. And we've got the 246 car, that is, I believe, Paul Trotman, been involved in an incident there as well. Now, this car's off the track all over the shot here this evening. Car 46, that's C. Smith. In the AM class, he's taken it to the gravel at the penultimate corner. He's flashing his lights, he's not happy. So maybe the car in front forced his way through. We'll yet to see. One driver it's looking good for, though, is Lee Cablo. Was looking at the order, Cablo currently is ahead of his nearest championship challengers. In silver class, Garrett leads, John second. Palmer's had an issue. Palmer's been off track, it looks like. Where is he? Palmer's struggling. He's now got, who's behind him? It's Harvey, so he's fell down the order as well. So that one, now the title picture swings in Rogers' favour. Rogers currently just ahead of this bunch. What action we've had this evening, and the field spread is so huge. I do think, oh, action going behind it, that's the Honda. Oh, and this contact, car 18 comes together with the red and white and green Ferrari there. Who was that? I'm not quite sure who that was, but I think it was De Vita, maybe. De Vita, yes. So a bit of contact there between the two drivers. So one man who's looking to take advantage of the situation in the Pro class is Jay Wazzer. Dan Naismith, sorry, not Dan Naismith, Dan Clegg. Too many Daniels in this league. Dan Clegg not in the server this evening for the finale opens up the opportunity for Jay Wazzer, the king of the mountain, our Bathurst feature race winner, to maybe take P3 in the standings currently. He's currently running P3 on track, second in class just now. Of course, he can't rest on his laurels. He's got Walsh, Clayton and Mäkinen, the recovering Mäkinen, hot on his heels. Welch just got past Cablo. So again, that now puts the championship into Welks. Into Welks court. Graves been off. Grave and Rogers had contact at the chicane. As Rogers continues on, and now it looks like Graves went to make a move on Rogers, and then he stopped and waited. That's good race etiquette, gentleman racer. That's what we like to see here at Formula Racing League. Sim racing at its very best. So Wozer's not giving up. He's still battling hard. And he's got a little bit of oversteer on the exit to the Villeneuve chicane, and that's going to put him under pressure. That's how tight the pro tier has been this year. So quick rundown with 7 minutes left. Morgan leads Garrett by 3 seconds after the initial challenge by Mäkinen. Wozer's hot on his tail with Walsh in 4th, Clayton in 5th, Mäkinen recovering currently 6th. Evandro leads the AM class 7th on track. Johns in 8th with Mihulka 9th, and Prentice in P10. Jack Prentice in P10. Grace 11th, Eden 12th, then Brave 13th, then Brave 3rd in the silver class. Mulnick's running well this evening in 14th. Gareth Harvey in P15, Palmer 16th. De Vita in 17th, Van der Wal 18th, second in class, but he's got Hellmans all over his rear end. There he is, now that's the view looking back from Van der Wal's McLaren. That is for second and third in the AM class. Cuter's just behind Ziliotto, and he's ran wide. Van der Wal's lost the rear, and that's going to put him now under pressure into turn 1. Ziliotto, McCann, Richings, Chermakov's Robert Rogers is now down 26th. There's Dan Naisbitt in 27th, but these two fighting here, Van der Wal and Hellemans. I apologise for my butchering of the pronunciation. Need to be careful on this side-by-side contact on the way into turn 1. And almost a little touch there as well on the rear. They need to be careful into that first corner. There was a little kink just before the braking zone. They need to take that into consideration. The BMW pulls to the inside for the Villeneuve chicane. That's not normally an overtaking move. The McLaren compromised on the second part, but keeps the position just now. Jay Wozer's got himself in front of the Porsche. He's currently now 5 seconds down on Morgan. I don't know if he'll have enough to catch the McLaren, but we'll keep an eye on it. And Jay Wozer takes second in class now. Walsh again, it looks like he's about to give us some action as Mäkinen trails him, and Clayton just behind. Car off track at turn 1, that's car 620, that's Neteza in the Honda NSX, giving the fans down there something to look at. Chris Gedman's battled back up to P35, and Dan Neal's up to 27th on the back of the grid after their earlier disconnection. But this is where the action is just now. This is the battle for third in pro class. But Garrett just ahead of these in silver, third on track. Then we have Walsh, Mäkinen and Clayton. Come through Toza just now. We've got 3 minutes left remaining, just maybe 2, possibly 3 more laps. Have these drivers settled into their positions, or do we have more to come? Jack Prentice now defending from Morgan Grace, and on the rear end of Mihulka. Prentice keeps the position just now, still bouncing over that curb. Car in front of Mihulka. Mihulka's ran wide on the exit off the chicane. Is that going to compromise him? I don't think he has been compromised actually. Down into that corner, the gap now. Wazer's under pressure actually. Up at the front, Wazer's got that Porsche in the slipstream. The Bentley is an absolute beast in a straight line, but the Porsche no slouch either. And just behind, Walsh is having to defend from Mackinnon now. Mackinnon no stranger to incidents into the first corner. But that's put Mackinnon under pressure from Clayton. Clayton now almost side by side with the Porsche driver. He touches it down the inside and there's no contact. Good driving, good clean driving by the 500 Ferrari. He thinks about keeping it on the inside into Toza. Shows his nose up the inside. Lets Mackinnon know that he is there. But Mackinnon having absolutely none of it on this occasion. This is the onboard from Garrett. This of course not for championship position, but he is able to keep speed with the pro class drivers. That's interesting to see. Mackinnon's managed to keep Clayton behind, thankfully for him. 1 minute 34 to go. Morgan's about to cross the line and start the last lap of the race. Of race 1 anyway. And Mackinnon looks like he's actually under pressure from the Ferrari behind into turn 1 on this occasion. You can see this is Mackinnon's passenger seat. We can see the Ferrari closing in the rear view mirror. Look at that. But he thinks better of it. Very tricky, of course, to find a move into here. Car number 6, that's Ziliotto's facing the wrong way. That's Variante Alta, I think. Needs to be careful on the rejoin as we've got a blue and yellow BMW going past. That's the 215 car off Serpentine. So he's now down there after that incident, recovering from the incident. Dan Naisbitt shown us in the pits. Unfortunately, Rogers continuing on. Wonder what's happened there. Maybe Dan Naisbitt is done for this evening. Of course, he has won the championship already. They've got a slow-moving car down at Toza. John's looking to get himself past Evandro. Of course, there's no obligation for any of these guys to move. Checkered flag is now out for the cars coming round. Look at this. Mackinnon's got past Walsh. And now Clayton's going to think about it as well. Alex Morgan's going to come across the line just now, but we're sticking with these guys as Walsh tries to go defensive. Can Clayton get round on the final corner? He cannot just yet. And that is the end of the race for these guys. Morgan takes the win. G. Wazzer second. Garrett will take first in class for silver. Mackinnon comes across the line now with Walsh in fifth. Clayton sixth. Great showing from Evandro. Johns comes home second in class. Mihulka, Prentice, Eden, Grace, Rickden, Brave, and Michael Melnick solid from the American this evening. Gareth Harvey's going to come home in P15. Harry Palmer in 16th. Dario De Vita 17th. Van der Waal 18th. Hellman's 19th. Van der Waal just holding on to that one. Cuters takes P20 overall. McCann is coming home in 21st. Luke Richings just holds on from Chamakov's. Robert comes home 24th. Rogers 25th. Samuel Graith comes home now as well. Cablo is going to finish 5th overall in class, just ahead of Welk. Akarov's going to come home next. Serpentine is finishing the P30. We're about to be joined by Gareth Harvey just as the cars come across the line now. Ziliotto heavily damaged just coming across the line. German was 33rd, Nuteza 34th, Smith 35th. Dan Naisbitt shown as in the pit lane, that'll be a DNF for the Welshman. Roos in 36th, Peckman 37th, Van der Adel 3 laps down, showing Sproston finishes 39th, Trotman and Luke Prentice did not finish. And as I said, I think we have now been joined by Gareth Harvey in chat. Hello, Gareth, how are you?
Hi, yeah, no, good, thanks. See you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. My voice is beginning to go. I'm going to have to refill my water just now, but thank you very much for asking. And thanks for joining us. It's great to have you here. Obviously,
no
you've had a good season. It's been a little bit unfortunate, a bit of an anticlimactic finish for yourself. But just talk us through your season. What's happened? How does it go for you? What was your best race? That kind of thing.
Yeah, it started really well. You know, round one at Kyalami. First and second sharing the points with old Dan Naisbitt. So yeah, season started really well. I thought I was in for a humdinger of a championship with Dan. But yeah, round 2, 3 and 4, just too many mistakes crept in and dropped down the championship, dropped down some points, and Naisbitt's run away with it a little bit. But I've rallied the last half of the season and scored some good points, and hopefully we'll secure second here today.
Yeah, it's definitely looking good for you anyway. From what I can gather so far, I think Rogers behind you had a bit of an incident
He did,
with another
right
driver.
in front of me it was, yeah, he got spun round unfortunately, and Dan Naisbitt as well, unfortunately not being able to take his place on the grid, having to start from the pits, I believe, didn't he?
He started from the back off the grid. He got back into the server,
okay.
but it didn't register his qualifying time, so he was at the back. How have you found the experience overall, like in terms of like joining the championships, that kind of thing? Has it been relatively easy for you to sort of sign up for that kind of thing?
Really straightforward. Yeah, I've driven with FRL for a couple of seasons now, so you know the level that I'm at is pretty well set, and the championship that I'm in, the silver championship that we've got going, is exactly at the right sort of level for me personally. So yeah, it's gone really smoothly. It's really good.
Good, I'm glad to hear. Will you be back next season?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I have a
Good
feeling
stuff.
I've scored enough points now to potentially get into the pros, where I'll be pushing for top 10. So
you know what?
yeah, looking forward to it.
It's interesting. I'm in that gap as well, where it might eke into pro, it might eke into silver. I'm not too sure what I want to do in the off season in terms of having some incidents. I'm in that position as well.
Just knock some points off, Gogs, and you'll drop into silvers. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Just pull over one lap from the end. Don't cross the finish line. You know, that kind of thing. It's a good system they have. It is dynamic. It takes your last, I think it's 10 results. It could be mistaken, could be 20. So it is quite good. It's a good system they have in place for making sure everyone's kind of, as I like to say, got a dance partner. I'm glad to hear you'll be back next season. Is there a track in particular you'll be looking forward to see on the calendar next year?
Well, we're due the Red Bull Ring, aren't we? So I'm hoping that makes an appearance next season. That'd be good to have a go around there.
It certainly would.
Yeah, my best results were Kyalami, so I'd happily see that back. I had a good result at Silverstone as well. I always like Silverstone. It's just down the road from me, so.
Oh, nice.
That'd be grand as well. So yeah, those sort of things. Red Bull Ring, definitely excited for that.
Cool. I will absolutely be pushing for Kyalami. It is my favourite track, so I will be pushing for that one for you. Don't worry. Cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
No problem.
Appreciate you jumping on. I know you've got quickly get your setup sorted for the next race, and hopefully see you up the upper end. Then.
Yeah. All right. Nice one.
Cool. Thanks very much for joining us. Take care. Good luck.
Cheers, God. See you, mate.
Bye. So that was Gareth Harvey there in our first interview this season. It's managed to get all the way through to the finale without having to do one. Thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate you jumping on there, and I think we're going to be joined by FRL co-head admin. I'll let Gedman and Naisbitt fight over that one. Stu Rogers has just informed me in the YouTube chat his game has just crashed. So he is effectively, and I can see him at the back of the grid, effectively out of the championship battle for the season. So that maybe swings Silver Class second place towards Gareth Harvey. We've got 2 minutes left before the start of race 2. I'm going to take this quick opportunity to jump into my kitchen and refill my glass of water before my voice goes before this 40-minute race. Do not go anywhere. I will be right back. Hello everyone, thank you very much for waiting. I am back in the comms box, back to bring you race 2, the final race of the Pure Sim Gear Super Sprint Sunday Series here at Formula Racing League. Sim racing at its very best. We have 30 seconds left before Morgan gets us underway for the start of race 2. But before we do that, I want to take a quick moment to discuss Patreon. Patreon, if you haven't heard already, is a fundraising tool, which is the primary way you can support Formula Racing League. That support is essential to the ongoing success of FRL and helps cover operational costs, such as the hiring of private servers, securing commentators and streams such as this one, as well as many of the other utilities associated with sim racing. All of the funds are fed back into FRL as well. So if you're enjoying this content, or even if you are one of the many drivers who I am sure will be inevitably watching this race back, there are 3 options available for you to choose from to help your league out. Starting at only £3, and for that you will get your preferred racing number reserved, along with your very own Discord logo designed by FRL's amazing graphics team, which you can then use on all your socials as a logo. You have a guaranteed seat in any of Formula Racing League's championships, and remember, there are some off-season events coming up to satisfy your racing appetite. And this one is the kicker for me, this is where I spend my £3, and you have your very own YouTube or Twitch stream shared amongst its 3,500 plus members. I think last time I checked, it was 3,757 people get a notification on their phone to state that you have started your live stream. £3. That is no more than a small coffee from everybody's favourite Northwest-based US coffee company. Yes, got that out in one. Get yourself a cup of instant coffee once per month. Save yourself that £3 and then use that to get your stream shared and contribute to your own success. Search for Formula Racing League on patreon.com. You can also find all details in Formula Racing League's server. It's also a quick thanks as well to the admin team who do all this work tirelessly off their own time behind the scenes. Drivers in the field tonight, we've got Chris Gedman, Dan Naisbitt, Stu Rogers, Jack and Luke Prentice putting in the work organising league servers, managing Discord, and do not forget Will the Excel Wizard Friedman, who doesn't race on a Sunday but he is here on a Tuesday racing as well. Big shout out to every single one of them for making this sim racing at its very best. So we are now coming round the second to last corner. The field's still very spread out. It's been a quick, very quick opening formation lap from Morgan. Morgan on the right, Mackinnon on the left. Same grid as before. Wazzer and Garrett third and fourth. Walsh and Clayton fifth and sixth, with Evandro, the AM class champion. Let me just put that one out there as well. Congratulations, Joshua Evandro, on taking the AM class championship at the end of race one. But we now await the green flag for the start of race 2. All the drivers now thankfully bunched up, ready to go. And the butterflies in the stomach increase, and we await the green flag one last time.
Green light.
And we are green, drive-through penalty for Ziliotto on the start. Mackinnon's got a good start this time as well, and look at the cars behind it all over the place. Mackinnon backs out of it this time, but does Wazzer get through? I think he does indeed. Wazzer's up into P3 as well. Everyone looks to get through relatively well one last time this season. Everyone gets through there, thankfully, relatively cleanly so far. It looks like there's any major contacts coming through the field, thankfully. Very easy to do that through the Villeneuve chicane, but everyone seems to have got through relatively safely. It is Morgan again who has decided that he is Max Verstappen in the F1 off-season in Formula Racing League, and he is away at the front again. Mackinnon is going to do his best to go with him. Wazzer's got a clean start and in P3 as well. Garrett has done a fantastic job so far, leading the silver class away, and Evandro holding his own just behind Clayton, but holding up Johns and Harry Palmer. Mihulka and Grace tucked just in behind this lot. Gareth Harvey currently running fourth in class, just ahead of Mulnix. Richter, Brave, Grafe, Chamakovs, De Vita comes just tucked in behind their pro class in the AM class sandwich. Ziliotto's got a drive-through penalty. Does he peel off on this lap? He does not. Trotman is all over the back of McCann. Lamborghini versus Lamborghini. I think Paul Trotman might win this evening's livery contest. That is a smashing looking car. The black and yellow looks incredible on the Lamborghini. But Trotman's up down the inside. Does he make it stick? McCann's pushing him hard. He comes, oh, and there's contact. McCann over the curbs. Bounces into the side of Paul Trotman. That one will end up very likely in the steward's room, as Naisbitt takes a very wide line to avoid those guys at the front. Walsh again feeling the pressure from Clayton. Clayton not letting that one go. Good battles all through the field, it looks like, at least so far. Harvey is definitely going to have Mulnix to contend with very, very shortly. Graves down the inside. Well, there's Chumakov's down the inside of De Vita. That's a cracking move. Sorry, I think De Vita's attacking and out of position on the exit of Variante Alta. Is that going to compromise him? I think he's relatively safe actually, as Van der Waals tucked in behind. Ziliotto's still got that drive-through penalty. Then we've got a short gap as the silver class champion. Dan Naisbitt had an amazing start up into P26 already. 14 positions in a lap and a half. Great start from them. Luke Prentice as well from the back of the grid. already taken Sproston and Trotman. A car running wide there, just up ahead there. That's Hodges. Hodges feeling the pressure potentially. Ziliotto's got one more lap before he has to serve that drive-through penalty. Grace thinks about it, and there's a huge contact. Welks went straight into the back, and now Eden smashed into the back of Rosell. He's parked on the middle of the track. They'll need to be careful. Yellow flags, guys, come on. Huge contact there into the side of Grace. There's yellow flags out there waving. You should be taking a lot more care. Walsh has had an incident as well and rejoins just behind Grace, as that's an unfortunate end to Morgan Grace's season. Makinen and Wazzer now fighting very hard. That he has got that Bentley under so much control this season. As Jay Wazzer, he is on the podium in race 1. He's looking for that one more step up the ladder. The proverbial ladder on the podium. You need to be careful, he can't run like that too often. And car 512. That's Rogers. Stu Rogers has got a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane. It goes from bad to worse for Rogers this evening. Michael Melnick still running half a second behind Harvey. Melnick's not in the championship picture, but has been running. Certainly have the pace to do so. Car 620. That's Neteza in the Honda NSX facing the wrong. Oh my goodness me. Well, that is a very ugly looking front to that Honda NSX. I'd be surprised if they can see anything over that bonnet as they straight line over the chicane. I think the steering column's broke on that car as well. It has. Hopefully see them continuing on, but up at the front, Morgan leads by 4 seconds. Makinen just behind his second with Wazzer all over the rear of him. Garrett's doing a fantastic job in the silver class in that Porsche as Ziliotto clears his drive-through penalty. Clayton currently sits in 4th in class, just keeping the cars in front honest for that podium. Evandro, AM class champion, is currently 6th on track. Harry Palmer looks to take. He'll be challenging as well actually for that silver class, but I don't think he's doing enough just now for that to move up a position. However, I think Townsend's not in the server anymore, so that might be a position for Harry Palmer. Mihuka's running top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 on track. Will that be enough? We don't know. Welks had a bit of an issue there. Welk is now showing us behind. He's shown us ahead of Harvey and Molnix, but I can see him behind. Actually, I think it was Welk that smashed into Grace. So that one might not even be his position come the end of the race. Dan Naisbitt's shown us very close side by side with Cuters. He's just taking Cuters actually in before even the braking point of turn 1. That Ferrari does not like the curbs, does it? It bounces over them. An absolute diva to control. Back at the front, Jay Wazzer still putting the pressure on as Stu Rogers clears his stop-go penalty. Not went well for Rogers this evening. We can see the Bentley through Variante Alta. I think that's what it's called, to be honest. I lose track of the names around here. He's showing his nose up the inside of the chicane. He doesn't do it, but one thing that Bentley does do very well is it pretends it does the greatest insult to curbs it can, and that is ignores them. Almost as if they're not even there. Look how these two pushing each other almost into Vatsa 1. Who can get the best exit out of the final turn onto this long start-finish straight? The Bentley, of course, has the passenger seat on the correct side or the left side. We can see the straight line speed off the big old Bentley this time. And again, Mäkinen goes defensive, takes the inside line, and there's slight contact between the two of them. Was Jay Wazzer entitled to racing room there, as Clayton shown as just behind Garrett on the way across the line. He's dropped off a little bit now. Maybe that one's coming to a head very shortly indeed. Well, this is interesting. For AM class, there's a bit of a train forming now behind Hodges. We've got Van Den Adel, Matthew Sproston and Robert in the 510 McLaren, all running relatively close to each other. Dan Naisbitt's up into 20th. Man's on an absolute flyer in race 2. He's put his nose down the inside of the Tozer, up the inside of the AM class number 18, leaves enough room on the exit, and that's a clean move. Interesting to see just how far up the order he can get this evening. Here's an interesting one here. We've got Walsh. He's just managed to get in front of Eden, and the front of that Ferrari actually looks smashed to pieces. So Eden's maybe carrying some damage. We'll see if they're able to do anything, as Walsh just shows his nose up the inside of the BMW driver. Nothing serious, at least not yet. So that's Sproston, I think, just taken Van Den Adel. Van Den Adel looks to be having a major issue with the back end of his car. We're on board with Paul Trotman, who is in a massive AM sandwich. He thinks better off it, doesn't throw it down the inside. Yellow flags out for Nateza again. The Honda driver not having a very good time. Grace is still in the pit. I think they're done for this evening. So now we've got a little bit of a lull in the action. No, we do not, because Walsh is still pressing hard on the back of Welk. Of course, Welk's on the back of Milnix. This is from the rear of Welk. It is very interesting actually to see the Pro and AM as well as the Silver class drivers on the track at the same time. We do get a sense actually of how close these guys all are. And of course, where their pace is now relative to where it was at the start of the season. Dan Naisbitt's got himself in front of Cuters. He's now on the back of Grave. He's kind of in an area on his own. But Grave just in front there. He's on the back of Rick Den Brave, and he's almost pushing him along the track. Car 33 and 34 on track together. This is again that battle of the 3 AM class drivers with Paul Trotman just tucked in behind them. You can see how close it is here as Robert thinks about now a move. Is that Sproston maybe moving out of the way of Trotman as well? I think Trotman, he's allowed Trotman through, I think. And there's contact on the straight, and Trotman's in the wall! Trotman's been sent almost all the way to the shadow realm. I don't know what he done there to keep it out of the wall, but that was incredible driving. But I think he's done as well for this evening and for the season. Luke Prentice on the back of Luke Richings. Luke versus Luke. Throws it down the inside. Now that was a very brave and opportunistic move, but he has made it work. I'm glad to see the sun has stayed out this evening. It has been made these drivers, excuse me, it's made these drivers job this evening a lot easier than it could have been. Of course, it could have been raining like it was in the finale for Formula Racing League's late night Thursday race, which seen Alex Morgan take the championship in that one as well. But Evandro Prentice took the podium along with Ed Sterling in that one. That was an interesting race, very wet, mixed conditions. And I think obviously everyone here, like I said, would be pleased that that wasn't the case this evening. So up front we've got Morgan still leads. Mäkinen is in P2. And he's got Wazzer still on his tail, keeping him honest. Great driving from both of these two. The consistency as well has just been incredible. John's still on the back of Evandro. Great to see the AM class driver. I don't think he'll be in AM class for too much longer with pace like that. Harry Palmer's on the back of Jack Prentice in that grey and Dayglow green Aston Martin. That's also a contender for the nicest livery this evening as well. I do like that one. Shades of the Porsche endurance car. Couple of other cars battling there. This Welks held on for long enough, and Walsh has managed to push his way through, and Welks went deep into Ravazza 1. Not cost him too much time, but does that open the door for Eden behind? Probably not. Eden still carrying a lot of damage. We've got a potential move here as Hodges is defending from Hellmans into the chicane. Takes the apex beautifully. Sprostens went wide at the back there. Is he now under pressure from Van Den Adel at the back? Look how close they are. The McLaren driver backs out of it, knows not to push far too hard. They've got Rogers at the back there trying to unlap himself. Well, who's at the BMW? That's Hodges has ran wide. And that's going to allow every single one of these guys through. Rogers flies on the outside. He is allowed to unlap himself as long as he doesn't hold anyone up. So we'll see what happens with Rogers there, if he can manage to dice his way through this field. He is allowed to unlap himself. Up at the front we've got Morgan, Mäkinen, Wazzer, Clayton, Prentice, Mihoka, Walsh, Eden, De Vita and Luke Prentice in Pro. Garrett, Johns, Palmer take the podium so far in silver, with Harvey, Mulnix, then Brave, Grafe, Naisbitt, Cuters and Serpentine in silver. And in AM class we have Evandro, Welk and Chumakovs taking 1, 2 and 3 there, with Hellmans, Robert, Hodges, Van Den Adel, Ruse, Akerov and Sprosten. Sprosten's got a 4-wheel drift. It looks like maybe contact with Ziliotto coming round that corner at the top of the hill. We're not even halfway through this race yet. It is of course a bit of more of a race of attrition as the temperature now begins to come down. Now that's weaving on the straight there by Sprosten. That's not something that's generally allowed to defend. What I don't understand, Sprosten is in the AM class. I mean, he doesn't have to move out of the way for the Pro class driver. But why waste your time? Your battles with the guys in front. Let the Pro driver glow and hold them up. I don't understand it myself. Maybe he can enlighten us on the Formula Racing League Discord what his strategy has been this evening. This is the battle for 23rd. We have Serpentine and Richings. These two in class. This is the battle for 10th in the silver class, as Richings gets a little bit out of shape on the exit of Toza. Dan Naismith now moves up to the back of Grafe and almost runs straight into the back of them. That was close. A lot closer than I probably thought. They're side by side into the chicane. Again, not something usually that you see. And Naismith moves out of the way, allows Grafe his space. Naismith has a cracking run through the field. It would be a shame if it all came undone. Now he's so much later on the brakes than the Audi driver. It looks like he's having a little bit of an incident, and they turn in, and there's slight contact. A slight little bit of door banging between the Audi and the relic of a Ferrari. But Dan Naismith is now up into P17 after starting at the last couple of rows on the grid. Interesting development at the front is Clayton has now got past Garrett. Now Clayton will be looking to make some inroads potentially into Jay Wazzer, because Wazzer's fallen off the back of Mäkinen just a little bit now. And something Mäkinen will need to be aware of is we have two lapped cars in between themselves now and Morgan. So we'll see if those guys come into the consideration of what's about to happen. So a lot of stories now kind of just developing. They've settled down into their own race now, as Walsh has now got past Mulnix. Mulnix lets the Audi driver through. Yellow flags showing at the final corner for car 620. I think that's Sproston. The Tezza again. No, yes, it is. It's the Honda NSX. Needs to be careful. Cuters comes round there. No contact, and they're diving into the pit lane. Don't think that car is drivable at this moment in time. So Wazzer was only shown as 0.1 of a second behind Mäkinen. Maybe Mäkinen has made a mistake. That's a cracking onboard shot from the big old Bentley. Look at the closing speed. Yellow flags shown at the top of the hill for car 31. That's Peckman. Peckman recovering in front of Jack Prentice. Now these are potentially dangerous circumstances. Needs to be very careful. Parks just before the apex. Can he get round before the next cars come through? They can, and it's almost dangerous. Peckman doing a great job with a very, very difficult situation. Lots of cars coming through here now. Needs to be very careful and not to get in the way of these drivers battling for position. There's not a lot of places for them to go, unfortunately, as they finally let all three of those guys or girls through. Just ahead of these two now is Chris Gedman in the Porsche. We'll see if Gedman's, of course, one of the better drivers, one of the more experienced drivers. He'll know what to do regarding the traffic coming through. We've got a stop-go penalty for car 620. That's the Honda NSX, isn't it? We've seen them go in the pits. They've been speeding in the pit lane, and unfortunately that's going to now drop them to the back of the field. We're going to just stick with these guys just now, because The dog shaft himself has got himself a great exit out of that chicane. He's going to be thinking about a move down into Ravazza. The back end is screaming for help under braking. And he gets through. He's taking the inside line. He's taking the position. And he moves up into P2. The Bentley driver of Jay Wazzer having an absolute smashing race. Smashing weekend here in the finale. It's not over yet because that Porsche has the slipstream. We've seen just how aggressive that Porsche can be on the way into turn 1. As Wazer's got himself a little bit out of control, and a slight touch on the rear of the Bentley. Given the sheer size of it, I doubt it'll do too much damage, to be honest. As Wazzer gives the room, and that's allowed Mäkinen back through again. So Mäkinen does a good job as well through the Villeneuve chicane, allowing them back, not allowing them through, but Mäkinen does a great job forcing them his way back through into P2. This one I don't think is over yet, not by a long shot. Now, if you have been in the chat this evening, I do apologise. There's been so much action going on and I can't see every single message that's came through. It has now updated. We've had Josh Clayton in the chat there in P5 saying a big interview for Big G Harvey. It's the G squad in the interview this evening. G Harvey and G Brown. Dazza Townsend saying sorry to Serpentine. Unfortunately, not a bit of an incident between those two. It looks like maybe that was the incident we seen at the start of race 1. Townsend left the server just for this evening. Stu Rogers saying he is so beeped off. His game crashed, so he's now out of the battle for the top 3. And Dazza Townsend confirming we have had 6 people drop out, as now again Wazzer thinks about it down into turn 1, nothing doing this time around. It looks like Dan Naisbitt's got himself ahead off this little battle and got himself up into 5th place with 14 minutes left to go. It'll be interesting to see if he can pull himself up a little bit further, as they've got a couple of cars dropping down the order here. So let's have an update. Let's have a roundup of what's happening so far. Morgan currently leads the way. He's just lapped a couple of cars just now. Mäkinen still holds 2nd place after a little interchange. Car 35, that's Welks off track. It looks like he's taking kudos off track and a very unsafe rejoin as he rejoins in front of, that's the Honda NSX. Needs to be very careful with that one as Welk now drops down the order. Still running, somehow 2nd in class. He's been through the wars this evening, but such is the gap Evandro's put on the rest of the AM class this evening. He's able to retain that position. So Mäkinen's running there. Just in front we've got a couple of lapped cars. So who is that? We've got car 269, that's Matthew Sproston. Car 24, Damien Roos. We've got Hodges as well. A big bundle of cars here just to get through. So hopefully they won't cause too much of an issue. Harry Palmer's just been tucked in behind Jack Prentice. It's solid race from Jack Prentice this evening as well. Running 8th on track, it's 5th in class. It's a top 5 for Jack Prentice in that green Bentley. It's a good performance from them here at the finale. Just behind them we've got Mihulka defending from Walsh. Or side by side there's contact as Walsh almost pushes his way through. Confident driving from the Audi driver. Mihulka's not giving up that easily. I think that move is done, and it's now G Harvey, Gareth Harvey, our interviewee for this evening, now next to attack Mihulka. Wazzer's now fallen off a bit off the back of Mackinnon, but we've got the lapped traffic now as Sprorston nearly comes back over. It nearly hits the two cars coming through, but that gap's a lot closer than a second, which is what the driver tracker says. We'll see if that one maybe changes itself, as we've got the AM class drivers all over the place diving out the way of the cars coming through. Of course, there's no obligation to move off the track. That's not something you need to do. Out of the way, yes. Not defend, yes. Off the track, that is your own prerogative. That is not something you need to do. So let's see what's happening a little bit further down the field. Harvey has got Mihuka all over his back end, so Harvey has taken Mihuka now as well. Mihuka lost 2 places in 1 lap. And if you look just behind this lot, it's like Dan Naisbitt, like Jaws, chasing down the back of this pack. Garrett's now lost the position. He's not lost the position. He's not lost the position. He's on the back of Clayton. So that's now coming alive. This is what usually happens. Car 79. That's Serpentine, I think. Shows yellow flags at Tamburello. I can't see that. Who is car 79? That's Gedman. Thought I recognised the number. Gedman off track. He seems to have recovered well. So, Wazzer again on the back of Mackinnon. We've got through the lapped traffic, or most of the lapped traffic. We've got a couple more now just in front of us. We'll see if they get involved. Hopefully they won't be too much. Now on the rear wing off Mackinnon, we see the Bentley again, using this massive turbocharger to haul in the big rear wing. And again, it's the same defensive line taken by Mackinnon. Wazzer's now got a car off the track in front of us as well, giving us all a little bit of a cardiac moment. As Garrett still on the back of Clayton. Clayton not able to make any inroads on the two just in front, unfortunately. How far up the road are these lapped cars? We come on board with Mackinnon now. We can see they're potentially going to get involved in this battle. Hopefully they're not the deciding factor. And there's something oddly familiar about seeing Mihuka and Naisbitt battling, which is what we're about to see for P12, as they've got that Honda NS. I'm so amazed somebody's in the Honda. It really is. Like, can we get someone in a Nissan as well, please? That'd be fantastic. Now this McLaren looks to be a little more of a handful, getting out of the way as Mackinnon tries to sneak a little bit of toe down that straight. Takes the inside line though. He's not allowing the Bentley the correct racing line, because we know the Bentley can make a move down there. We've seen it once already, but he's choosing to concentrate on his exit speed. But I think the Porsche has got great traction coming out of Ravazza too. On the run down to Tamburello now, and again we're going to see the Porsche just take the inside, the left hand line, and he thinks of it, he throws the dummy. It's a great move by, oh, he bounces over the sausage curbs and unfortunately not able to make the move, but great car control by Jay Wazzer that time. A good move. Tried to throw the dummy, showed his nose, went the other way. It was really a good move. It just didn't work out for him on this occasion. So this is now what we're looking at. We have got Prentice, Mihuka, and Harvey's jumped these two. Prentice, Mihuka, and Dan Naisbitt starting from the rear. Mihuka's now on the rear end of that Bentley. Just like we've seen before, we've got a Lamborghini and a Bentley. Only Mackinnon's in a Porsche, not a Lamborghini. I am so mistaken. We've got yellow flags out for car 620 going up the hill. I think that's maybe just to let some lap traffic through the field. Look how close Naisbitt is to the back as Mihoka moves over, and there's slight contact between the two of them. Naisbitt pulls out of that one. Needs to be very careful. It'd be a shame if, after all of this hard work, it all came undone. Now this battle is something we're used to seeing. This is the battle we pretty much seen all through the field last season, season 11 of Super Sprint Sunday, was Dan Naisbitt and Mihoka. They're battling again here in the finale for season 12. It's not for position between. Oh, that's a big cut of that chicane for Dan Naisbitt, but he makes it work. Somehow the Ferrari keeps it under control over the massive sausage curbs. Another position from the Sky car. Luke Prentice doing a good job as well from the back. Welk still managing to lap second in class. He's got a decent gap actually. Almost half of that back straight. Hodges is on the back of Sproston now. But he moves out the way for the car coming through. I don't know what's happened. Wazer's in front of Mackinnon. When did that one happen? Now they're coming through some lapped cars. I don't know if there's been a mistake from the flying Finn, but Wazer's now showing as in the front. And Gedman loses the rear coming out of the chicane. The back end just going on that push, screaming no more after running for 35.5 minutes. The rear tyres saying, please stop. I have nothing more left. I got nothing left. I don't want to show it again, but I'm going to have to. We've got a Honda parked on the inside of the track. That's at Variante Alto. They need to be very careful coming through there. Yellow flags in that section. Yellow flags being waved by the marshal there as the Honda gets moving now. I am absolutely so impressed somebody is in a Honda. It's great to see. I wish we could see more of that, to be honest. So with 3 minutes and 40 seconds left to go, Alex Morgan is on his way to the Pro Class Championship. Jay Wazer, I think, might find himself third in class by the end of this as well. Mackinnon has not let him go. He has closed the gap down a couple of tenths already. This one's not over yet. Garrett has just let. So he's just about to come through the lapped car of Chris Gedman. Very close to an incident there. Gedman struggling with that Porsche. There's a Vandro that comes up the hill as well. Good performance from Vandro, also taking a championship this evening. Chris Pisuk in chat there, I do apologise if I've murdered your name, my apologies. Thank you for joining us, good to have you with us here for the finale of FRL Super Sprint Sunday. We have 2 minutes and 40 seconds left. And we have got 3 championships being decided this evening, or 3 rather prizes, or whatever you want to call it, this evening. Michael Melnick's doing a good job, solid drive this evening, currently running 15th. He's got Rick Den Brave in front. This is a battle for position. Thanks, Chris, I appreciate that. Wazers had to get through a lapped car. That's a gold McLaren dancing off on the grass there, playing Lawnmower Simulator instead of Assetto Corsa Competizione. Car number 12 shown as driving very slowly. They've got up to speed now. That was at the back end of the track. There's now no more lapped cars for these two battling for second. So this is now a fight to the end of the track. Given where Morgan up ahead is on the track, I think we're going to get another lap after this one, so there will be time. There will be time. It is not over yet. Dan Naisbitt still flying. I think those tyres have finally gave up. He's now caught up to the relatively more difficult people to pass. No disrespect, of course, to anyone racing this evening. I'm taking that based upon class only, as we've got some AM class, and Dan Naisbitt is the silver class champion. The leader starts the final lap of the Max Verstappen Impression Tour this season, with Morgan having won at least one of the races at every venue this season. It's been a dominant performance, but the green Bentley up ahead of Jack Prentice has gotten out of shape, and that's allowed Mihuka to think about a move down the inside, and there's almost contact as Dan Naisbitt has to take avoiding action. We've got a Ferrari just up ahead. I think that is a lapped car as well. This is the closest battle I think we have on track. Walsh up ahead as well. He's got Harvey on his rear view mirrors. But nothing doing this time around. Palmer's got Walsh on his rear end. I think he's going to be able to defend into turn one. He is on this occasion. And that's the checkered flag out, so the next time the leaders come across the line, that will be the last lap as Walsh just a dart out of the way of the lapped car. Almost a huge collision. Harvey now next to come through, our interviewee earlier on this evening, as he moves off the racing line and allows Harvey through. Dust being kicked up there. But it has been an absolute season of dominance for Alex Morgan, and again, pole position, race win in race 1, race win in race 2, and the Formula Racing League Super Sprint Sunday Pro Class Championship for Alex Morgan. Congratulations on your season. Next across the line, Jay Wazzer, the king of the mountain, is going to come across the line and take the second spot on the podium, with Juho Mäkinen coming at home in third place. Dan Naisbitt's got a drive-through penalty for track limits on the final lap. Josh Clayton's going to come home in fourth, Garrett fifth. Evandro, congratulations on becoming the FRL Super Sprint Sunday AM Class champion, finishes 6th on track. John's 7th. Palmer's going to hold on to that third place in silver. Congratulations, Palmer. Walsh comes home at 9th after a strong charge, with Gareth Harvey rounding out the top 10. Jack Prentice is in 11th. Mihuka's in 12th. Dan Naisbitt's going to cross the line in P13 and smash it into the wall and pretty much pull his shoulder out of his socket. Rick Dembray finishes 14th. Michael Mulnix has a little bit of a gentleman's touch to Dan Naisbitt there, and another almost crash as Prentice comes through. Welcome P18, Devita 19th, and Cuters rounds out the top 20. Congratulations to Welk for finishing 2nd in AM Class. Chamakovs finishes 3rd in AM Class just now. Serpentine's going to hold off Luke Richings to take 22nd and 23rd, and we've got one more car on track. We've got a couple, Stu Rogers and the Taser cross the line. Congratulations to everyone for doing so. What a race that was. A fantastic finale to our Formula Racing League Pure Sim Gear Super Sprint Sunday Championship. That's those highlights just been saved just now. I am going to go and play those highlights for you all in a quick second, as I take this time first just to review the order of the race, and we're also going to be joined by the Destruction Derby man himself, Dan Naisbitt, at the end of race 2 there. Dan, thanks for jumping on.
Hello, mate.
How's your shoulder after that one?
My hand's a bit sore.
Yeah, it looked a bit sore, to be honest. What happened there with the drive-through penalty?
Oh, yeah. Too much curb. About
Too
three
much curb.
times. And then I lost it. So I went sideways into Variante Alta.
I lost
And
track.
then I think that's the uphill bit.
To be honest with you, I've just called them all variante something this evening. I don't actually know what they're called, but
I think the downhill where you try to turn and brake, I think it's Variante Alta.
yep, I got that one right then. Okay.
There we go.
Let me just quickly run. Sorry, go ahead. I asked you a question first. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. You crack on. Go on.
Yep, I'm just going to quickly run down the order for AM class. Harris and Smith did not finish. Cablo did not finish the second race either. Neteza in the Honda NSX, incredible, finished 13th. Peckman 12th. Van der Waal 11th. Akarov in the top 10. Roos 9th. Hodges 8th. Sproston 7th. Van den Adel in 6th. Robert 5th. Hellman's 4th. Chumakov's 3rd. Welk 2nd. And AM class champion Evandro in P1. In silver class, did not start was Daza Townsend. Paul Trotman did not finish after his collision on the main straight. Chris Gedman 13th, Stu Rogers 12th, Richings 11th, Serpentine in the top 10. Dan Naismith yourself after your stop-go finished P9, great from the back of the grid still. Cuters in P8th, Grafe 7th, Milnick's solid there in 6th. Then Brave 5th. Harvey, who's also joined us for a little interview at the end of the race as well, is currently in 4th, finished 4th in that race. Palmer, Johns take the 2 steps on the podium behind Garrett. In the pro class, who did we have? We have Grace, I think, crashed out early on after a big incident at turn 1. Ziliotto, Eden, I've just lost the results off my screen there. Oh, I've lost them now. No, I've not. I've got them, sorry. I'm back. Ziliotto and Eden. Then we had McCann in the 666 car. De Vita. Luke Prentice from the back in P16. Good performance from them as well. Mihulka, Jack Prentice, Walsh. Then at the front we had Clayton, Mackinnon, Wazer, and of course the Pro Class champion Alex Morgan. So I think I've got 2 people here with me just now. You with us, Gareth?
Yes, I'm here, mate. Hello.
Yes, I'll have a quick chat with you very quickly and then I'll move on to talk about what we've got coming up in the off-season with Dan. So, race 2, strong performance.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. That was class. Yeah, just want to say great drive to Dan as well, from the back of the field to within 2 seconds of me before his drive through. So, a hell of a drive.
Yep, I think there was quite a few good drives this evening. Yeah, pleasantries out the way. Yeah, we had a few.
The underlying hatred can come back to the fore now.
Yes, of course. Yeah, we had a few good races tonight. How did you feel this race represented your championship as a whole? Like, obviously, you've had a good race between the 2 of you at the front there. You mentioned during the interview earlier on, it came away in the middle. Do you think it could have went to the end if you kept the consistency throughout the field, throughout the race? Not to put you in the spot with both of you here, but do you think it could have went to the wire?
Yeah, I think so. I've had a few. I'm sure Dan has as well. You know, Bathurst was a particular struggle for both of us in the end. But yeah, that consistency. You know, you see the top drivers. Your king of the mountain, Jay. Morgan, who's always up there. You know, they're up there week in, week out. That consistency in the pro field is just insane, and it just makes the difference, because the pace between the classes, as you've seen tonight, you know, some of the AMs are right up there as well, so the pace is there. So yeah, it is just the consistency, and for me it was lacking a little bit more so than Dan's was. He was up there far more consistently than I was. So yeah, I think tonight is a fair representation. My pace was pretty good. I didn't make any big, you know, mistakes tonight. So if I could have done that every week, you know, it may well have been a lot closer coming into this final round.
Absolutely. It's certainly been good from my point of view, watching the races back. I missed Bathurst, unfortunately. It sounded like a very eventful
You didn't miss
race.
anything for us.
You didn't miss much for us.
Yeah.
It sounded very interesting from what I heard. I've asked it, I know what Dan would say to this, but do you think, I've been thinking about this myself, and I want Bathurst on every single season's calendar.
I'm not taking the 488 anymore then.
Yeah, update your card, Dan. Come on.
I'm going to next year. We're going Porsche next season.
No.
What about yourself, Gareth?
I like Bathurst, but it's a track that I've always struggled at. You know, you cannot make a mistake on the mountain because the walls are right there to punish anything.
Yeah.
So, you know, the little slips and sides that you can get away with on a track like this one with you know, concrete runoffs and gravel, you can't do that in Mount Panorama. You just get punished for it. So yeah, it's a good way of separating the really consistent, really good drivers from, you know, drivers like myself who just make those extra few mistakes.
It's effectively a street circuit. That's the way I look at it. It's effectively the closest thing to a street circuit you'll get on this. Just very lastly, obviously you've been in the Ferrari this season. Can we expect you in the Ferrari next season, or are we looking at a little change?
I quite fancy a change, to be fair. You know, I was in the BMW last season, in Ferrari this season, so it's a front rear car for the BMW into a mid rear car this season. So I don't know, maybe it depends what the OP car is, because I need all the help I can get, I suppose.
The Bentley.
Yeah,
it's going to be the better. Yeah, 40 kilos of BOP every round. That sounds nice.
Yep, I've had the same internal battle myself. Okay, that's fine. I'll let you go. Thank you very much again for joining us. It's been great to have you with us. And I can't believe I managed to get this round 7 before actually speaking to anyone. I think that's a good shout. I think I've done really well to manage to sidestep that one. No, but it's great to have you on. I do like talking to everybody and getting to know everyone that is taking part. I've just watched this crash at the start of race 2 on the highlights. It's on the end of the stream. Oh my goodness me.
I'll have to check that out when I come home.
Yeah, we're going to be busy in the showroom tonight. So have a look at that as well when you get a chance. Can you get a quick chance? I will let you go. Hope to see you again next season. Are you racing on Tuesday?
I'm not entered into Taco. Actually.
You're not in Taco?
No.
That's fine.
No.
You'd say if I know, I don't know.
Off-season races, I'll be joining you for some of those. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yes, the couple of off-season races. We're going to talk about that in a second as well.
Yeah, nice one. Right, I'll leave you. Cheers.
No worries. Thank you very much for joining us. Cheers, Gareth. Take care.
See you, buddy.
So, hello, champ.
Hello, mate.
How's that feel then? Another little gold trophy next to your name on Discord.
I am just so happy that the internet decided not to break at any other round of the season. Because that was so hard.
It looked very interesting, to put the least. How have you found that Ferrari this season? The only one in the old Ferrari, but benefiting from the LFM BOP.
Do you know what? Certain tracks, it's amazing. Like Kyalami and Silverstone, it was really quick. Anything where you haven't got ridiculous bumps, it just hits bumps.
Yep.
So like
it's
Panorama today was a pain. Specifically.
Yeah, I think that's actually the first car I drove when playing this game, and I found the same thing. It was just whenever you came across the slightest bump, it was
like
a disaster. But
the ability to like rotate the car is phenomenal through like sharp corners. But then as soon as you get any kind of curb in that you've got to try and ride, it's like that chicane nearly killed me 27 times.
I assume there was 27 laps.
No, I did an extra lap just for giggles.
Okay. Cool. So the real reason I've got here is not only to feed your ego, champ, but also to talk about what we've got coming up in the off season, and potentially
Yeah, an off season that I have not picked this game. I'm just a bystander on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn. I've done it myself. As I watch Harry Palmer go for a 4-wheel drift through the Villeneuve chicane.
Nice.
Yeah, they look nice, but it costs enough position. Yeah, so basically coming up, I think next Sunday, so anyone who's racing tonight, next Sunday can take part in Over the Limit, which is, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I did set it up, I've forgotten, I've set 2 other ones up since then. 80 minutes at Watkins Glen?
It is 80 minutes, no strat, Watkins Glen, GT3.
Yes, Watkins Glen, 80 minutes, open strategy, GT3 cars. Do what you want,
And
basically.
I am going to try and fuel save and make it 80 laps most time. 80 minutes.
Oh, interesting.
Just for a science experiment.
Yep, that's the thing, you need to see if it works. And from someone like me who normally drives the Lamborghini, who can do 80 minutes straight, I'm not taking the Lamborghini, funnily enough.
I tell you what, you can't do that on the McLaren though. The McLaren's a thirsty girl.
Yes, exactly. So, however, the extra weight put on the Lamborghini, it uses more fuel.
What are you taking?
Bentley.
Ah, of course you are.
Yeah, Bentley's thirsty as well though. So, it's got a big, massive, hungry turbocharger in the front of that car.
It's a beast though.
I'm watching it. I watched Jay Wazzer tonight on the back of Mackinnon for about 6 laps straight into turn 1. It was all over the back of him alongside every lap.
Yeah, Valencia was pulling away from me on any straight.
It's a monster.
-40.
Yeah, it's a monster. So we've got Over the Limit next Sunday, and I think 3 weeks from now we have Perfectly Balanced, which is a GT4 race.
Yeah, that's on Sunday as well, isn't it?
Yes, it's not this. Yeah, 3 weeks from today. GT4 race, 80 minutes around Nürburgring with 1 mandatory stop, and again with low fuel motorsports balance of power applied. Never seen that done on a GT4 race on PlayStation yet.
No, we don't tend to get much traction for GT4, but hopefully this time we'll have some
I'm
decent
hoping.
numbers.
Yeah, hoping that we do get some decent numbers with the balance of power being applied. So hopefully we'll see how that one goes. And then the one I've really dreaded setting up, that I'm definitely taking part in, is the Italian Championship. I'm going to attempt this. Okay. La Grande Competizione Italiana. So, if there's anyone Italian there, I do apologise. Basically, we have a 3-race mini-series starting a week on Tuesday.
They're 2 40-minute races, aren't they?
2 40-minute races, the same rules as British GT, just in Italy. That's the only difference.
Are you putting a 5-minute pit window now?
5-minute pit window.
Oh, spicy.
Yes, exactly the same as before, because it made some very good racing. But just basically Italian tracks, which is the difference. We'll be back here again. We'll be at Monza and Misano. And sorry, go ahead.
Should be bone dry as well.
Should be. We'll see. Yeah, Imola's interesting this time of year. It can go one or the other. Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully dry. And that's another thing as well, on our Sunday events it's going to be a fixed dry race, which is something we don't normally do. But it's because we're testing things out, so we need to make sure it's dry. As of today, as of this morning, all 3 of these events are live on SimGrid for anyone to join. So that's as of today, so if you've not joined yet, simgrid.com, Formula Racing League, that's where to look.
Should we mention the potential 4th race that we're going to implement?
I think we should. I wasn't sure how on board of it we were. Yeah, let's do it. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, let's make a decision.
Okay, executive choice being made by the co-head admin. And I'm not
As
getting
step
involved.
in head admin because we ignore Chris Gibbon. We'll God, you can announce it.
Right, okay, I'll announce it then. My voice is going, but I'll give it my best shot. So, I think, you know what, I don't even know if we're doing a series or a one-off.
I think it's going to be a one-off, isn't it? One-off at
We'll go
the
one-off.
Red Bull Ring.
Brand new track.
Multi-class.
Brand new track. I think the downloadable content is released, I want to say, some point next week. Tuesday?
27th? Tuesday, yes, Tuesday, because we have Taco.
Tacos,
And
yes.
maybe messed up again, potentially. So hopefully,
Yay.
fingers crossed, G Portal does not kill itself.
Hopefully. Yes, hopefully. So we've got a new track along with it being released on that day, the Red Bull Ring. So we're going to try and have a race on a Thursday evening at the Red Bull Ring with a multi-class race between GT3s and GT2 cars, the brand new GT2 cars. I don't know too much about them. I don't know which cars have been released. All I know is they are quick.
I have played them a little bit on PC.
Oh right, okay. What can you tell us?
They're incredibly quick and straight. Do you know the Ferrari Challenge?
Yes.
It's basically like that, steroids. They're rapid, but they've got no wing, no body. So through corners, they are like driving.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And on the Red Bull Ring, with
It's
those
half and half.
straights.
Sector
But
1 and
those-
Sector 2 is basically straights.
Yes.
Sector 3 is twisty turn.
Yeah. So that will be a very interesting one. Hopefully we'll be able to get something sorted with that. I hope so anyway.
Also,
So that is pretty much the end of all the information we have to give just now. Do keep an eye on the FRL Discord for more information as it comes up. Thank you very much for everyone watching this evening, and thank you very much as well, Dan, for coming on.
my pleasure's always more.
Great, it's been fantastic. It's been an amazing season. Congratulations to our champions in Pro, Alex Morgan, and in Silver, of course, yourself, Dan Naisbitt. And I think AM Class champion Joshua Evandro. I think I've pronounced that one right. Joshua Evandro, congratulations. Next season, I think, due to start on the 7th of April. Could be mistaken. That one's still up in the air. We've got some discussions to do, I think, about that one.
Yeah, it sounds like we're at the moment, but it may be subject to change.
Early to mid-April is what we'll say. Hopefully you will be watching then. I intend to be back for next Sunday's season, but again, we'll see. We never know how things can go. Until next time, good night. Thank you very much for watching.
Goodbye.